Hello and welcome to Cannabis Marketing Live, all puff, no fluff. I am your host, Kendra with Modem Marketing. And today we're going to be talking about social media platforms. Have you ever wondered what social media platforms could help you make a big impact on your cannabis or hemp CBD business? If so, you are in luck. We are here today with Amy Donahue of Hybrid Social Media, and she is, I think I just added a word to your company name, Amy.
Totally fine.
We're here, let me try again. We are here with Amy Donahue of Hybrid Social, and I just realized I am all over the place today. I grabbed the right one. Hang on. There's Amy, Hybrid Social. I'm going to fix one thing here really fast. I love technology. I love making updates, and I love it when updates don't take. You are not Sheila. Sheila was from last week, so we're just going to take that off. All right. Starting again. Welcome. We are here to talk about social media today. Amy is an absolute expert in social media. She was here almost a year ago, and we had so much fun talking that I absolutely wanted to get her back. And yes, she's been joking around that it took her 4 months to get back on, but you know what? That's too bad. But we are going to be talking today about the hidden social media platforms that could help you move the needle in your business. And one of them I'm really excited to talk about because I know very little about it. Shame on me teaching social media with knowing very little about one of these platforms. So I'm excited to chat with you guys, with Amy, about all of them. And I want you guys to know that stay till the end because I'm going to be talking about my brand new CBD marketing lab that I'm launching soon. Ooh. So
I'm excited.
I know, I can't wait. So yeah, I'll be talking about that at the end. So first of all, Amy Donahue, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in cannabis and social media?
Yeah, so I got started in social media because my background, I'm actually a stand-up comedian and radio DJ. I haven't done it in a few years because cannabis took over, but in 2004, 2005, I was a high school Spanish teacher, and my students were like, "Oh, you're doing radio. You have to be on Friendster. You have to be on MySpace." I never logged into Friendster again, and I loved MySpace. I built relationships there. It's how I built my following. And I built relationships not by blasting out my shows. It's by building relationships and by providing stuff that made people interact with me. And then people started giving me $50 here and there to set up a page for their business, which I had no reason to think that that was going to be a thing. I'm like, why do you want a business on MySpace? And ta-da, look where we are here today. So yeah, it's been about 15 years helping small business owners. And then 6 years ago, I started Hybrid Social, and I've been just in cannabis ever since. I focus on compliance in social media and thinking outside the box, thinking outside the Zuckerberg box in particular, because I've seen the damage that he can do to brands. So that's my background.
I love it. And that's so true. There's so many things that people don't realize when it comes to Facebook and Instagram and all of the different Facebook owned properties that just cause so much trouble for companies and businesses in this space. It's really hard. So we're here to talk about 3 platforms that you might not be using, that you should be using. And the first one is Twitter. Amy is all about the cult of Twitter, and she loves it so.
I love Twitter.
Yes. I love that you love it with such a passion. There's so many people, there's a few people who do. And now I want to step back because when I teach social media, most students that I teach don't have Twitter, have never used Twitter, and all they say about it is that it's political. Blah, 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 politics. So can you dispel that myth, first of all?
I can. I mean, there's an algorithm just like every other network. So if you're following political stuff, your algorithm's going to have more political stuff in it. So it's really about creating lists and organizing, but also you can unfollow, you can turn off retweets if you have one of those people that tweets a lot. By the way, I've been on there. We were talking about when we both joined Twitter. May 2008.
Ooh, hang
I think
on.
we are within a month or two, I believe, because
I'm checking now.
like,
You keep talking.
and
I'm checking.
just like Twitter is just exactly what you and I are doing right now. It's talking to each other. And I think that there are so many features on Zuckerberg platforms that people don't understand the simplicity of Twitter. This is it. It's just talking with people. I donated a kidney because of two people I saw tweeting about one's mom needing a kidney, and I donated to her mom. So this is where relationships are. And right now there are dedicated hashtags to the cannabis industry that are used by thousands of people a day. So it's knowing where your audience is too. People are jumping Zuckerberg ship left and right. So if you're not following your audience, number one, you're probably not paying attention to your analytics. But number two, you are completely disengaging from where your true target is. Twitter, you can talk about anything. You can post videos smoking. You can post sale prices. You don't need to use your real name. So Twitter is much more comfortable and open than most. And there are some huge brands, Emerald Dew, Carver Johns is huge there, and creating these dedicated hashtags to be part of a community. Why wouldn't you want to do that for your brand?
I love it. First of all, I joined Twitter in September of 2007. So, just kidding.
Dang it.
Secondly, what are if you could give someone, our viewers, 3 tips for using Twitter? You've mentioned lists. You've mentioned hashtags. If you could give them 3 tips for using Twitter and using it well, because let me tell you, I've done several social media audits for cannabis companies or NCBD companies, and no one's using Twitter. None of these companies.
Twitter. They are now. They're starting to because I've been talking about it. I'll take full responsibility because they're Arizona brands, and now I'm like, your contact, blah blah blah, is now on Twitter, and I'm like, I wonder why. The tips are to follow the right people so that you have the right algorithm so that you don't get discouraged with Twitter. I do lessons, and I'll give your people a special on a Twitter lesson. But it's extremely important to be able to engage with people one-on-one. And if you have a patient, which by the way, they do go to Twitter and complain about you, and if you're not there listening, then you need to figure out who's doing your social media and why. Because that's where they go to complain. And brands should be there listening. And if you're not, you're really missing the boat. You're missing out on an opportunity to create a fan for life, a brand ambassador by making things right. And people will come to your aid. If you are trying to make good on something, people will be like, hey, they just tweeted that you're going to get a free pre-roll for, your order being mixed up or something. It's just another tool to listen, but also to build a community. And I don't know about you, but I want a community around me. And if I had a dispensary, community would be the number one thing that I would be working on.
Absolutely. Because otherwise, how can you cannot stand out if you're not building that word of mouth, if you're not building that community, and if you're not providing that reason that you're different. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Heidi.
You can be different right now by being on Twitter.
It's true. And tweeting, because a lot of the ones that I've done audits on haven't touched it. They have it, but they haven't touched it in like 4 years. Heidi Groeschel, our friend over at Groeschel Communications, is cheering you on and saying great information. Amy. I love it because Twitter's just those are really great tips because Twitter's it's underutilized. It's underutilized in the cannabis industry and it's underutilized overall. But if you want to, there are people using it. And if you want to stand out and be different, it's a great place to get started. Absolutely.
It really is. It really is.
I love that. Then the second thing that we wanted to talk about, and this is the one that I'm not as familiar with, is Reddit. Let's talk about Reddit.
I just celebrated 12 years on Reddit too, so I must have signed up for Reddit and Twitter like on the same day. Reddit is one of the points that I brought up on the MJ BizCon panel. Mm-hmm. Because it is a great way. There are subreddits of region-specific threads. It's like a group. It's like a private group on Facebook is a subreddit. So in Arizona, we're a medical state. The subreddit is Zona ENTS, which is enthusiasts.
That's fine.
But you can find subreddits for your area. In fact, there was a woman on LinkedIn when I posted about it. She's like, "Oh, there aren't any in Canada." It took 10 seconds to find the ones in Canada to send to her. I think that people just discount it again because it's not Facebook or Instagram, and it's just those two are such an addiction people can't break off. In our subreddit, brands will drop their week's drops. So if they have sales going on, if they have new strains, new products, they will post in there. There's a very crazy etiquette to it. There's nuances to Reddit that you can't even like really teach it. You have to be a part of it and use it to actually understand it. You can't be pimping yourself out all the time because, again, social doesn't mean buy my shit media. It means build a community. I'm sorry, I swore. Build a community. You can tell I'm passionate about this. It's social media. So this is a place to interact. And again, if they are complimenting, like in ours, there are a few grows. I actually just went shopping today and got their strains, and we will sell out. We will flock to a shop as soon as somebody mentions a great brand that's coming out or whatever, and that's where they will complain. And so if you are a brand online, you absolutely need to be listening on Reddit as well, and you can have listening tools like Mention so that you know if you're being mentioned on those platforms.
I was actually just going to talk about listening tools for a second. So you mentioned Mention. Is that what you use?
I use Mention and Google Alerts.
Nice. Yeah. So Google Alerts are a free way to go about it. And at the very, very least, make sure you have an alert set up for your brands and yourself, top people in the company. Mention's a good one. It's pretty pricey. I like On 24. I found that one a little more. I found it not as... I did an audit for a client on listening tools, and it was better priced, and they kept extending my free trial.
Oh, that's nice. They're like, someone's using us. Let's let keep it around.
Yeah, and they're doing more now. I think their price is increasing, but it was a little bit less robust than Mention, but I think it's at a level that a lot of people could handle and use more. But it is incredibly important to be listening on the internet, not just on social media, because sometimes some of the forums and things slide through. Yep. You want to make sure that you're listening on social media. I mean, on the internet overall, to see what people are saying about you. It's really incredibly important.
Mention is how I got one of your posts. I missed one of your posts because we were posting at the same time when you got all the graphics done, and I thought I got all the networks, and then a few hours later, or maybe the morning one that they give you, it was Mota Marketing. I'm like, crap, I missed one. But I got it. So I went and I liked it because when somebody talks about me, I need to acknowledge it. Yep. And when someone's talking about your brand, if you don't acknowledge it, good or bad, you're failing. You are really missing an opportunity. And listening on social media is just as important as what we're doing right now, is listening to each other.
Absolutely. I always refer to it when I'm talking about it as if you're walking down the street and someone says, hey, blah, 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 and you just keep walking, you would never do that. You would never do that because they're calling you by name. If they're if they're saying, hey, Amy, I've got this and da, 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 or I thought this, or this didn't work for me, I hated your brand, you're not just going to keep walking. You're going to stop and address it.
Right.
And that's what people are doing if you're not listening if you don't have your social media set up, and if you're not listening, your listening tool set up, because you're missing those comments. They're happening over there down the block, but you really want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go on Instagram.
Look at me. Okay, so talk a little bit more. If someone's looking to get started on Reddit, it sounds like it's one of those where they have to listen and pay attention first before they dive in.
Do a lot of lurking. Create one not for your brand. Create a personal one to go in there and lurk. They can smell you from a mile away if you're a spammer or anything like that, and you will be torn to shreds. But if you do what you are supposed to on social media, which is engage, you won't have a problem. And then you'll figure out the nuances and etiquette, because every single network is different. You cannot do the same thing on Facebook as Instagram, as Twitter, as Reddit, as LinkedIn, as Leafwire. Everyone is different. So the only way to learn that is by doing. That's how I learned my job, is by doing it. So, and that brings up another point, and I don't want to sound like it's bashy, but if somebody is doing your social media and they have 27 Twitter followers, are they going to be the best person for your brand for that? Do they know how to use it? And that's another thing that I think people don't look at. Investors are busy, GMs, everyone's so busy that they can't check people out. You have to. It's that never trust a skinny chef adage. If your social media person has 27 followers on Twitter and 324 friends on Facebook, is that person qualified to run your brand online with a strategy and everything? Like, right. No. So you need to check people out before you hire them.
Yes.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
How many people, I know I've had quite a few, but how many clients have you had come to you and say, I hired somebody, they were cheap, or they were an expert in this other field, and they said they knew it, but they didn't, and then you have to fix it?
I get cleanup work. I probably get 2 or 3 cleanup clients a month.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who didn't read the rules, who knows nothing about cannabis compliance on social media, who somehow is having their bills paid without knowing what they're doing. And that, to me, depresses me, because I understand what goes into building a dispensary and a grow and everything. You deserve the best. Your investors deserve the best. It's ridiculous that it's kind of, social media is an afterthought sometimes in this industry. Oh, we forgot to post today. Can you get the bud tender to post today?
It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And I think that just looking at what can be done and what the opportunity is and how many people are doing things, like I've had to clean up a client that came to me that their last person had bought a bunch of leads, right? So they're taking out stuff to their investors, and they're trying to figure out why I can't grow their account. But at the same time, they have 2,400 or more than that.
Thanks.
You know, their average client or their average follower is a 22-year-old guy in Pakistan, and they're trying to target 40-year-old women in the US. Like, that doesn't work, you know?
Yeah,
so
we
they're
could talk about the buying of followers for hours.
Exactly, because they're unfollowing. You can't show. It's fake results.
It's not even your target audience.
No, it's fake results.
Why would you waste money on that? Yeah, exactly.
It inflates numbers. Number inflating works well if you don't look at anything else like engagement or some of the other things that are so important.
Number inflating does not work in the end.
No, it backfires on everybody.
And
okay.
Then they hire us to clean it up.
It's true. It's true. And then they get upset that they had to pay more than $5 to get it cleaned up. So, you know, when we look at all of the different social media networks, I'm probably going to go back to Reddit in a minute, but when we go look at all the social media networks and we look at our target audience, a lot of questions come in about the cannabis specific social media networks. You know, you mentioned Leafwire specifically when we were talking earlier, but you know, what are your thoughts about them, and who do you think they're right for?
Well, I saw a tweet by Mass Roots the other day, and I had no idea they were still around. I loved Mass Roots when it came out the gate. I loved it. I loved it until that Russian porn bot hacking ruined it all. Doobie, I don't even know if people are still using it, because I don't have a shop right now, but Doobie is great if you have a dispensary. But if you're looking to network, meet other owners, potential investors, consultants, definitely Leafwire. It's LinkedIn for cannabis. There's 30,000 users and I think 12 or 13,000 businesses right now.
Yep.
They have a marketplace that's very reasonable, and they'll take your money there. Like, you can advertise on Leafwire. So they have great partnerships with MJ Biz and Hemp Biz. It's just a great place to also interact with like-minded people. It's not the clutter of LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I think I have like 30,000 connections there. I've been using that forever as well. but Leafwire is just cannabis people. And I kind of like that. I don't have to worry about which of my followers are going to get angry that I'm posting about weed again. It's nice because we talk about mushrooms a lot on there. Psilocybin is a huge subject. So it's a place to be free and talk about the stuff that we all like, which is natural medicine, plant medicine. I love Leafwire. Follow Leafwire on Twitter, please.
You're like, can I combine them all? I would like to talk about Leafwire and the subreddit and then tweet about it. Now,
method to my madness.
Exactly. Now, I want to, these are all 3 platforms that not as many people are using overall, right? So, and what platforms people use depend on, I always say, like, I can answer the question quickly with if I know their goals, their business, what type of business they have, and who their audience is. But at the same time, there are people on these platforms. So how would you go about recommending, like what attributes would make you recommend Twitter, Leafwire, or Reddit, or all 3 to a client?
So I actually just took on maybe 3 months ago a new startup extract, a rosin brand here. And when we met up, he said, I don't want to be on Facebook. Yay! You are like my #1 person right now. You have to have a Facebook page to have a business account on Instagram, but that doesn't mean you have to use it. It's owned by the same people. So I said to him, I go, Twitter, Reddit. He's like, okay. And we're doing good on those. We have Instagram as well, because you have to have Instagram for an extract.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. But that's all we use is Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit for this rosin brand. And we interact with people on all 3 networks. I actually watch stories and comment on stories. I actually go through the posts and like and comment. The social part of social media that people have forgotten as well. So, yeah, I think that those 3 are extremely important.
I think that's one thing that, of all of your experience in social media, I think that's one of the things that you just do so well is that outreach. So going and finding, and not many people are good at it, right? And not many people enjoy it. So seeing how much you love making those connections and really using social media the way it should be used is so critical, because you just see so many people. Here's my posting strategy. Here's my calendar. Here's my calendar. Here's my calendar. Here's my calendar. Awesome. You're just like shouting at people.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying that. Because sometimes I feel like I'm like the only one. I'm in the corner by myself. Does anybody see me? I really appreciate that, because I truly believe in Twitter. I really do, especially for this industry.
Absolutely. And there's, I'm somewhat similar only for LinkedIn, which has a little bit different, angles to it, and it's not for everybody. But I think that these other platforms that are not the Instagram, Facebook, and I know everyone loves Instagram, blah, 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 but that are not.
I don't know why. I hate it. It's one of my most hated networks.
I enjoy it.
I don't like it.
I enjoy looking at it. It doesn't have as much social engagement as some of the others. Like, you have to force engagement, I feel like, more so than Twitter.
That's why they created stories.
Yeah.
Because people weren't scrolling down.
And
now with stories. Ugh.
And what just launched yesterday is Instagram Reels, the TikTok competitor.
I'm all for TikTok. We'll talk TikTok another time. I'll take anything that takes traffic against Zuckerberg.
Exactly. So as we're looking at wrapping up, I wanted to really focus on a couple things. One is who's the best fit for Reddit, and how much time do you think it takes, right? Because that's the biggest thing too with Twitter, and when you have someone doing the outreach and not just posting, you have to have someone talking in your brand. You have to have someone who knows you and knows the industry to answer questions. There's so many more things that are important to having someone in that role at that level than just posting because they need to post and responding with an emoji, because that's cute, but it doesn't answer questions.
The thing I like about Reddit is they pull it out of you. Like, you don't respond with just emojis. They don't allow trolls either. Like, it's so much more real than most networks. It's just, I don't know, that's just how I look at it. It just feels more real, genuine.
I love it. And if you're catching the tail end of this, we've been talking about Reddit and Twitter and then the cannabis networks like Leafwire because there's so much value that can be, if the audience is right for you, there's so much value that can happen in those, including Google searches, right? Twitter comes up, Reddit comes up, and we all know it's important when you can't buy ads to get
It's like
your
organic SEO. It's like SEO.
One more time. SEO. SEO.
Just Jack.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. As we're wrapping up, it's time for the speed round. Are you ready? Oh, before we go into the speed round, sorry. It'll be our first question. Heidi just asked, how much time do you dedicate to Reddit?
I mean, they're at least a half hour a day per client.
Okay. And Twitter?
2 to 3 hours a day.
Per client or just for fun?
Oh, well, I would say, yeah. I jump back and forth between all the accounts because that's where the activity is. There's no fighting for attention there. I would say if you were going to do it on your own, you have to dedicate at least 1 hour per network to your brand. You need an hour on Facebook every day, an hour on Instagram every day, an hour on Twitter every day. That's why it's important to know where your audience is so you're not wasting time, too.
Right. And that's if you're going to do it with engagement, right? So you're not just shouting out at people with your post, but you're actually...
That's not social media, that's posting media.
Exactly. You're just commenting and doing, it's actually creating that engagement. Okay, so ready for the speed round?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Number 1, what is your favorite product right now?
True Infusion flower in Arizona.
Ooh. And is it a sativa, hybrid, indica? Where are we?
I got like 4 today. I maxed out my allotment today. So I'm going to be smoking a gelato pre-roll when we're done.
Nice. I like it.
But I also have some orange kush, which I'm really excited about.
Love it. And then where do you go to get your information on social media?
Social media today is a great blast. I'm in a huge network on Facebook of social media managers, but it's really difficult for us in our industry because our subject doesn't come up that much.
Right.
Later.com puts out great e-blasts too for Instagram.
Perfect. All right. And the last question, where can people find you? And you mentioned an offer.
Okay, I am at The Fabulous One, one word, all spelled out everywhere. That's my name everywhere. The Fabulous One. And I will do a half-hour consultation, which includes an audit of your Twitter account or a Twitter lesson for $50.
That's amazing. Find her.
It is amazing.
Take advantage of that.
Find me.
Find her.
That's really worth like $500.
It really is. Truly. Find her.
This is your brand.
Take advantage of that, you guys,
yes.
If you're watching, because that is an amazing offer. It will have a calendar date for those of you that might be watching on YouTube.
And you get a half hour with me.
Which is, it's not often you can get a half hour with the Fabulous One.
Or you.
Or me. That's true too. That is true too. Okay, as we wrap up, you guys, I did mention one thing. I've been working on a CBD marketing lab that I'm really excited about. You can find it at motivateyourmarket.com. I love it because I've noticed I've taught enough classes, I've created enough classes that people aren't going in and finishing courses. They're just paying for them and then not finishing them. And no one wants to do that. I don't want to take people's money for something they're not going to do. So it's 6 months, it's monthly sessions and accountability. And we will be talking about things like SEO, like email, like social media, and all of the fun things during that time because I love it and I cannot wait. So motivateyourmarket.com. I'm working on getting the credit card processor and all of the things finished. So there's a wait list. You can check it out and sign up. Yep, absolutely.
That's awesome. I think that's amazing that you're doing that.
Thank you. I'm excited. Not everyone can pay for one-on-one, right? We're not cheap. And
No,
so
you shouldn't be.
right. And so to be able to share this information with people in a non-one-to-one way, in a way that also includes accountability, I'm pretty excited about, because it's not, once again, it's not cheap and not everyone can afford to get the information that they need. And so I've been trying to find ways to help more people, because I believe in the plan, I believe in what we're doing, and there's a lot of people who are working really hard and need that extra expertise that they don't have. So between Amy and I, we've got you covered.
We really do. Like, on every corner of what we do, like the two of us, we would be the best blanket for your brand.
We've got the arm movements today. All right, you guys, thank you for joining us this episode of Cannabis Marketing Live, all puff, no fluff. Be sure to subscribe and like the Facebook page. Sorry, Amy. For more interviews and updates. And once again, if you want to learn about the CBD Marketing Lab, it is motivateyourmarket.com. And that's Mota, M-O-T-A, like my company name, motivateyourmarket.com. All right. Thank you, Amy, for your time. Thank you guys for sticking with us and watching. We will talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye.